So hello everyone and welcome to week 2 of VFL. It's time to make your transfers. The game is now open to make those transfers if you want. But today we're going to talk about which teams or players you should be targeting on these teams for VFL. So let's just dive in, shall we? And obviously the way to do this is by looking at fixtures, kind of thinking who's got easier games coming up. We're going to start with Pacific because most of you probably started, with a majority of Pacific players in your team, right, like me, because they were playing a double game week, and so mostly you'll be looking at getting rid of Pacific players because they don't have a week 5, right? So basically what we're going to start off with is which Pacific teams do you want to keep, which Pacific teams do you want to get rid of. Of course, it's all up to you and who you think will win those games, but looking after week 1, what I would say is generally if you've got teams on the Japanese teams that aren't May, I think they're probably a get rid of, to be honest. If you're looking at a couple other teams, though, I think it's harder to say overall. Because, for instance, if we take a look at Gen G, I mean, I pick Global to be Gen G, but, Gen G players, I think now, they've got rid of DRX and RRQ. Okay, they lost to RRQ. But, again, I know a lot of you got Texture IGL and stuff, and I think the reason for that is you're probably just going to keep him until Pacific no longer plays, and that's what I'm going to do with my Pacific players on Gen G as well. So, Gen G is probably a keep. Now, global players, I know a lot of people had global players as well, right, in their teams, for RRQ Team Secret. Maybe this is a get rid. It's obviously either a bench this week against Gen G for most people. Looking at Global's upcoming schedule, they then play Nongshim, which isn't maybe too bad. They could win that game. And then they play DRX, which again isn't that bad. They could again win that game. So probably depends on how well you think of Global, but this could be a get rid of time for your global players. It could be a keep if you feel good about them. Talon, I think, are absolutely a keep against DFM. T1 are definitely a keep against Zeta, I would say. RQ and Nongshim players, I think this is close enough to where you can get rid of them if you want. You can keep them if you want. Again, this whole group, RRQ then played DRX, for instance. Nongshim then played Global. RRQ last week played Secret, and Nongshim played Gen G. So I think, these are both like maybe keeps, maybe get rid of if you want to. Secret played DRX. Again, if you've gone heavy Secret, they then play Gen G. So I think for most people, this probably is the time to get out of Team Secret. For DRX, it's probably a keep this week, and then boom, play Paper X. Paper X, you're keeping. Boom, you're probably getting rid of because they didn't look great. But then again, you could bench your boom players this week because they do have DFM coming up, and then they do play Zeta. So actually, boom, I would say probably keep and hope that they win these last 2 games. But of course, for most of you, you'll be looking to get rid of players for other regions players, right? We're looking to get rid of Pacific and into Americas or EMEA because of that week 5, of course, where Pacific doesn't play. So looking at EMEA teams, who should we be targeting? Who should we be getting? Well, really, anyone who plays Apex, I think, is a good call. I think Carmine Corps should probably be, they'd probably be number 1 on my list of teams that you want to go for right now, because they've played Fnatic, probably the hardest game in their group, right? They play Apex this week, right? So if you're going for Carmine Corps players, you want to target this week, because this week should be the absolute banker. They then play against Koi, right, which is a game that they could win. They then play against Navi, another game that they could win, and then in week 5, they finally play Liquid. Obviously, not too easy a game. But if you want to target Carmine Corps, and I think Carmine Corps looked okay in their first game, this is the week to do it, and I think that, they should be a pretty slam dunk pick for the most part. Same for BBL, really, right? Like, BBL played against Team Heretics week 1. Again, they looked okay, but now they play Giants. They then play Mates, they then play Vitality, they then play Foot, right? All games that BBL, I think, would be slight favorites for, at least as we're sitting right now. And yeah, I think that, again, against Giants, one of perhaps the easier games in their group, this is your time to get in on BBL, and I think Carmine Corps and BBL are big winners. You should be looking to go in for them. Obviously, your Fanatics, your Liquids are always good options, right? Like, in that group, I think those two are just always going to be pretty good options in general. Probably want to stay away from Mates this week, playing up against Team Heretics, but, later on, maybe, you could go in for Mates if you wanted to. But, yeah, I think obviously your super teams or your big teams, your kind of big 3 in EMEA are always going to be good options from this point on. But I do think that BBL and Carmine Corps, if you're looking for cheaper options, are very good options. And then on to Americas as well, and another team that I think you have to be high prioritizing is Sentinels, because Sentinels have played G2, by far the hardest game they're probably going to play this stage. They play Fury this week, right? So up there again with the Carmine Corps, the BBL, definitely should high priority on Sentinel players right now, because again, looking at the rest of their schedule, they play Cloud9, then EG, then 2G. right? That should be quite a few wins, you would have thought there, probably for Sentinels overall, even though they didn't look that convincing. But I think, you know, overall, they should be a pretty good buy and pick up this week. G2 play 2G, so again, if you want to go in for some G2 players, you know, now might be a decent chance to do that as well, because again, they've played probably the hardest game they're going to play overall, so now's a good time. If you want to go Cloud9, you know, they did stomp Fury. I think you've kind of missed the boat a little bit because you have missed out on that easy game. But if you believe in them, that's fine. And then the other group, you know, I've talked about this other group, just avoiding it, basically, in my opinion, because I don't know what's going to happen. And honestly, I still kind of feel the same way about these games, right? Like 100 Thieves crew, I don't know who's going to win. Now, the one exception to this is Kess coming in for Boostio. Because obviously, if Kess was in the game and I knew he was in the game, I wouldn't have priced him as I priced Boostio. Right, because Kess, obviously, his numbers are going to be a lot better than Boostio's. So he's the one exception, I think, that you can go in for. And I think 100 Thieves look good enough to where you might consider going for Kess. Because he's very cheap compared to probably what his output will be. But do I trust 100 Thieves to definitely win all these games? Absolutely not. Right, Loud NRG, who's going to win that game? Don't know. MIBR Lev, who's going to win that game? Don't know, right? That whole group still very, very difficult to call, I would say. I would probably avoid it because I think there are better options on, you know, the Sentinels, the Fanatics, the Liquids, the Karmine Cores, the BBLs, right? The teams that we've just talked about. I think there are just more safe, better options. Know that they're probably going to win and potentially pop off. I think that's where I'd rather be going with my team. Okay, so that is kind of a quick rundown, a quick preview of some of the teams that you might be looking to go in for this week. Again, obviously most of you, I assume, going to be moving Pacific players to EMEA and Americas players. First week went pretty well for me. I'll be doing a video tomorrow talking about what my team is going to be and the exact transfers I'm going to make looking ahead for week 2.